Hey guys, here Charles Calloway here, financial advisor, small business owners and their employees, and I'm sitting here still at Clayton Audiology and talking to my friend here, Dr. Melissa. I like to call her Dr. Melissa because that's so official. So fast forward now, you're in college, not in college, you're working for the college.
Mm-hmm.
You're not only working with fitting hearing aids and things like that, but you're instructing the grad students so they can do it well. You got married in here somewhere.
I did.
So what's that all about? So you meet him at on
At
campus?
the college.
Okay.
We did. We met in college. We dated for several years, got married, and started to have a family.
Okay.
And
That means you had a baby somehow?
I had a baby somehow. I don't know. It took 4 years.
Took 4 years.
We finally had a baby.
Okay. Well, nothing like perfect practice, I think.
That's right. He would say the same. But he was at the university. We met there, got married, had a family, and I realized that I didn't want to be away from home and my first child full-time.
Right.
So I decided to go part-time. I didn't want to leave my career because I really enjoyed what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to have my cake and eat it too.
Okay.
And actually, I was able to do that. I worked 2 to 3 days a week, and so I was home, I was at work, I really felt like, as a mom, a young mom, I needed those 2-3 days out of the house, but then I was missing being home, so it was a good balance.
So the struggle is real, your
Yeah.
mom, your wife,
Right.
and you're a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You invested all this time and energy learning all this stuff, and
I wasn't ready to give that up.
right. But you found the balance because your profession allowed you to be part-time.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure did.
So as time went on, though, I think you changed. You were working. Okay. What did happen next? What did you do?
So working at the university is a big job. I was teaching, I was in the clinic, and dropping down to 2 days a week was really hard to get all the work done that I needed to do. So I decided I needed a little less responsibility in the role I had as an audiologist. I hated to leave the university, but I chose to move on to a private practice setting, and that really evened things out. I had a 9-to-5 job, 2 days a week, and I didn't have to take a lot of that work home.
Okay. It sounds like you enjoyed that more. Was it just because of the whole logistics thing, the hours and everything, or is it something else about the difference?
For private practice, I really enjoyed, there are several things. I really enjoyed the one-on-one with the patients and less of the challenge of getting things done. And in a large corporation or a large university, there's purchase orders and paperwork and lots to go through. And that's just the way it was, and that's fine. In private practice, it was just simpler. It was, I want to do it this way, so I can do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I want to spend this much time with my patients, and I don't have to be on such a crunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just seeing patients, so it took away some of the other teaching responsibilities and grading papers and all of those things.
So you were able to simplify things and focus on probably what brought you into the field in the first place.
Yes.
I want to help people with their hearing.
Yes.
And here you are.
And
And you were able to get away from all the, so can I call it bureaucracy? And all the infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's
It
always,
wasn't a bad thing. It was a
Yeah.
great learning experience for me. I was just out of college when I started
so you were like in
supervising.
your early 20s or something?
I was,
Okay.
and so the students I was supervising weren't much older or much younger than myself,
Okay.
and that was a challenge.
Okay.
Put me out of my comfort a little
I
bit,
got you.
but it was a good experience. So.
Right. So did you work for just one private practice all of your career before
I worked for 2 private practices prior to opening Clayton Audiology, and the first practice I was 7 years with a single owner practice in Winston-Salem. And then I moved to the High Point area and worked for a wonderful friend of mine who owned a practice. A practice that we both interned in as students. And she took over that practice and said, someday I'm going to call you up and when I'm ready to hire. And she did. And so I worked for her from 2008 to 2022.
So the main reason you went from one practice to another was the relationship you had.
Yes.
I got it. Okay. So that's great. So that evolved your career. Now you were full-time at this point when you went?
Still part-time.
Still part-time. Mm-hmm. So you basically were able to raise both your boys
on a part-time.
Part-time.
Yep.
You probably you were able to support the family financially, and
my husband worked very hard to really make that work for us, and I'm grateful for his hard work. He went through a master's program and everything in the midst of that, but it worked out really well.
Wow.
So now he says it's his turn to work part-time while I take over.
Oh, here we go. So
he wants to go play golf.
All right. So let's tap in now. How did this come about? You could have just stayed working for someone else's private practice.
I could have, and that was always my plan.
Really?
People ask me, don't you want to own your own business? No, I would never do that. Never say never, because circumstances change, and you just have to be open to the ideas and the situations that cross your path. Mm-hmm. Never had I ever thought I would actually sign the line to own my own business, but my husband moved us here away from the practice. I was commuting 2 hours, and that was really rough. My kids were in middle school. So
let me get this right. So you were living in the Greensboro area?
Yeah, in the High Point area.
He took a job and moved here in the Clayton area, 2 hours away.
We moved together.
Okay.
But I was resistant to leave my job.
So you were driving all the way?
I drove to High Point.
That's like New York stuff.
That's what he thought. He's like, is this really, benefiting you? On my car, my gas, for 2 days a week. But it was definitely worth it. I worked for a phenomenal family-owned practice, a practice that modeled to me what I would do if I owned my own practice. And it was through that relationship that offered me the opportunity to open a practice here in Clayton, so I would not have to commute. And I took...
Oh, okay. So this makes sense now. So when you came, basically it was about, I want to be able to have a short commute, have more of my life back. That's like 4 hours a day.
I was missing baseball or soccer and swimming, and was exhausted by the time I came home. It was dark when I left. It was dark when I came back.
Like
it took
right
a
now.
toll. It took a toll.
Right. Yeah. So tell me, how did that conversation, was it just kind of a one moment conversation? You initiated it? Did the family-owned business, the people there initiate the conversation? How did that?
I think I finally got to the point where I thought I either need to look for something closer to home, and I didn't want to leave that practice, but I felt like I needed to make a change. And so when we chatted and we talked about where I was at that point, I did research some opportunities in this area, but nothing felt right. I don't think I would ever have the same situation for a practice like theirs. And so she offered to help fund me to open this. And if it worked, that I would always have the opportunity to purchase it from her. So
wow,
that was never my intention.
Right.
I was pretty happy about running it and easy. But then it really started to hit home that I opened this from scratch. I with her help decorated, but pretty much found the location and started making phone calls, getting into the community to try to draw in business, and I did all that on my own, and I really wanted to have some ownership of that. And that's what really sealed the deal, thinking I built this and I think I want to own it. I know I want to own it. So
wow.
I changed my mind.
So you were like a reluctant business owner, reluctant entrepreneur, and then when you start to dig into it, you say, you know what, I like this.
Yeah, I did. And with the help of my husband, who's in business development, and he did give me a push. He's like, you won't be alone, I'll help you. I think that really sealed the deal, because from the business side of things, I was a bit intimidated.
Right.
I went to school to be an audiologist, not a business owner. What do I do? How do I start? And he said, I'll help you. So he did, and he's my business manager, and I run by the business aspect, or it's nice to have somebody to chat about, what do I do here, or this business topic, and we just attended a business conference together.
Awesome.
So it was
specializing in your profession, or just
yes.
Well, that's a cool thing.
And it was fascinating for him, because now he's learning more about the business. He knows general business, but to really help me, it helps him to know the industry. So.
Gotcha. So would it be safe to say that my belief that the craft is different than the business that houses the craft?
Yes.
Two distinct
Very
skill sets.
Yes.
And you have the advantage of your husband, who's had the general understanding of how business works, but he also has a passion to help his best friend, his spouse, right?
Right.
And so you guys are like a team.
It's a great combination.
Now your boys are both grown now?
They're both young adults. One is out of college and one is a junior in college. So this has been a great time for me to be able to invest in the business, because the kids are off and they have their lives, but I was able to be there and present for them while they were growing up.
Right.
So.
Something really, really cool about your story. It sounds like you built your career, now your business, around your life. You didn't build your life around.
Right. Yep.
And that's what life should be, right?
It should. It should.
You hear so many stories where people get the job in corporate America. They work their way up, all the way up. And nothing wrong with the corporation necessarily. No. It could be a great company.
Right.
But they make so many sacrifices for their family and everything. And then they get to the point where they're like in their mid-50s or whatever, and the corporation is trying to figure out ways, well, because it's smart business for them.
Yes.
Maybe we could hire a couple people half your age and pay them half the money. And now you're out.
Right.
And that probably sounds very cynical, but that's life. That's reality, right?
It is.
But your life is kind of like went through this path where it's just you had the people there to help you and support you while you focused on your passion.
And I could not have done any of this without the support of my previous, employer, and without my husband, without my team. It does take a village, and even my children. I feel now that it's nice for them to have witnessed. I went back to school. Even I did a lot of things along the way, and now my youngest son is planning to graduate with a business degree and focus on entrepreneurship. And he asked me the other day, how do you feel about owning your own business? And I said, it's great. Definitely do it again.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Well, guys, you got the rest of the story as far as the business is concerned. Next time we're gonna actually talk about her profession, her business, and how it's different. Okay, and perhaps you may know someone that needs the very service that they provide. See you next time.